Now, when a company like Kawasaki Heavy Industries, are also into aeroplanes and ships, decide to make motorbikes, you can expect them to be big and brawny. And not to disappoint, we've now got this, Kawasaki's new ZRX1200S. It's what it says on the fairing. Of course, any 1200 is big, but although the ZRX certainly looks the part, it doesn't feel big when you're on the road. That's partly because you sit in it, not on it, and partly because they've designed it as an all-rounder, a semi-tourer if you like, so it has to be manageable. Now, part of the attraction of these big muscle bikes is that you can see the engine, big and brawny as I said earlier, and this one's no exception. These aren't fins, by the way, these are just for the looks. It gives this traditional sort of retro look, so it's liquid cooled of course with those pretend fins on there. And this engine is completely new. It's now 1164cc as against the old one which was just 1052cc. It's got a new cylinder head, new blocks with ceramic liners, reduces the width of it and makes the engine much lighter. And while I'm talking of lighter, these aren't magnesium cases, it's just a magnesium paint finish to make it all look a bit techy in the old macho look. Another thing to note, it's got carbs, no fuel injection on this one. In general styling terms, the big quacker goes back to the early 80s, the days when the likes of Wayne Rainey and Eddie Lawson raced and drifted big bore road bikes in the American Superbike series, but that's where the similarities end. Engine-wise, it's bang up to date. It's big, 124 brake horsepower motor, but it's not at all edgy. Give it a handful and it'll fly, but you don't have to work it hard to get your smiles. Short shift it through the 5-speed gearbox and use a wide spread of power to get the most smiles from your miles. As I've said, sitting in it, not on it, puts you in command, and the high wide bars emphasise that effect. It's very much a traditional feel. But traditional feel or not, don't let that fool you, because this frame, this might look traditional, but it's brand new. It's steel tube, but it's brand new and it's doing its job. The rest of it is bang up to date. Front forks there, they're fully adjustable. You've got the preload on the top and the rebound damping, down at the bottom the compression damping. 6-pot calipers, big 320mm discs, all bang up to date stuff. And this fairing as well, this is all new. Big fairing with twin reflector lamps in there. I'm sure you've seen lamps before, but nevertheless, there they are. Gives a very good spread of light. And then inside this, you've got a very neat, brand new layout for the clocks. Now, no digital display on this one, and the one thing that I don't like on it, see the old Speedo, that's really crammed up as far as the numbers go, and they're very small, and they're orange on black. And if you're trying to read the kilometres, which are blue on black, that's incredibly difficult. And earlier, when the sun was out, in my face, with a dark visor on, trying to pick up all that lot was very, very difficult. But nevertheless, there they are. It looks very neat, doesn't it? And over there you've got your fuel gauge and temperature gauge and then your old idiot lights. But coming back here, you've got these big wide bars and it's a really nice feel. And this reminds me of the sort of Eddie Lawson time again. They're matte black bars and they've got a nice rigid feel to it. Fully adjustable levers as well. That's all up to date. And then this big petrol tank, which looking down on here, I used to have a GPZ900R, exactly the same sort of colour scheme. And this looks very, very familiar from the top. Very nice. And then this big seat, this is worth a mention because this seat is really comfortable. It's really good. And under here, it's got an amazing amount of storage. It really did surprise me. Let's lift this up. Look at this down here, an absolute cavern in there. It's just got the handbook in there, but that is really deep. See, I can get in well past my elbow. It really is massive. So you could get a lot of bits and pieces in there. And it doesn't finish there because under here is a tool roll. But you could get some waterproofs in there, a spare pair of gloves. So plenty of little storage spaces for all your bits and pieces. Let's put that back on there. But it's round the other side. This is what I really like about this bike. You just can't ignore it, that massive brace swinging arm. Look at it. It's very distinctive. There's no other bike running with those. Looks a bit like a special, but I really like it. It's got the eccentric adjusters for the rear wheel spindle. But I think it looks really trick and really nice. All helped off by these fully adjustable twin chocks on the back with the remote reservoirs. Nice and adjustable from the top, bit of gold anodized aluminium. Looks very neat. You've even got a bungee hook there for a bit of luggage on the back. And also 2 decent grab rails there for your old pillion passenger, or perhaps young pillion passenger. Now, I've already said it feels manageable, but that's to do it a disservice. It's much more than that. It might not be a sports bike, but with its fully adjustable suspension, you can tweak it to please. And as my old PE teacher said, it handles its bulk very well. It's no lightweight at 223 kilos, 20 kilos up on a phaser, but the steering has a light feel to it. The suspension is supple too, soaking up the bumps but not allowing any wallowing. And that front brake is more than just looks, it's a real stonker. Put all this together and you've got a bike that sits where you put it and it doesn't fidget about like lesser mortals might do. Now all through this piece I've been talking about the Kawasaki being big and brawny, and in a way it is, but in another way it isn't. The seat height for one thing, it's low, it's 30mm lower than a Phaser or a Monster, and something else that is much lower is the price. This will cost you just £1 under £7,000, which has got to be cheap. And I'll tell you what, for your money you get a hell of a lot of